Hi guys, it's Debbie, and today I would like to share with you a part of my childhood and specifically what I used to watch and read as a child, and I would like to speak about how this affected my taste in media as an adult. I grew up in Italy, so if you're an Italian watching this, you might recognize some memories from your childhood. So let's start from the number one thing that kids watch. Cartoons. 99% of the cartoons I used to watch as a child were anime, because anime were and still are extremely popular in Italy. So they were broadcasted every day. There wasn't really that big of an option. In general in Italy, during the 90s and early 2000s, there wasn't a huge choice of channels on TV for cartoons. There were 3 or 4 main channels which would broadcast cartoons for a couple of hours, and only the really rich kids then later on managed to get a subscription to channels such as Cartoon Network. So most of us were just watching the regular afternoon cartoons. The shows I used to watch after school were Attacca You, in Italian Mila and Shiro, Hamtaro, Kodoka, in Italian Rosanna, Pokemon, Sailor Moon, Doremi, Doraemon, Dr. Slump. I also sometimes watch Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon, Kiss Me Nicha, which in original language was Aishita Night. These were the ones that I mainly watched, but there were many other ones such as Dragon Ball, Captain Tsubasa, Holly and Benji, Heidi, the Maya-Bi anime, Sanseiya, which for us was I Cavalieri dello Zodiaco, Lady Oscar, and so on. Because of this intense presence of anime and also a general influence of Japanese culture in media in Italy, most of us developed a passion for the Japanese world, and many of us carried on this passion as adults. For example, for many people in Italy, going to Japan is a dream of a lifetime. There are many stores where you can play Japanese card games, buy mangas, and so on. There are many very successful comic conventions in Italy. For example, the Lucca Comic Con is the second largest one in the world after one in Japan, so there's definitely been a strong influence on the public. I was once asked in a Q&A a couple of months ago whether I still watch anime, and unfortunately I don't as much as I used to, but every time I watch something or go to a convention, I feel that little warm happiness in my belly. I love all the aesthetic, the clothes, and I think that also children, we dreamed of eating what the characters used to eat because it all looked so aesthetically pleasing and tasty. Anyway, so this was what I was mostly watching on TV during my childhood. There's actually a very sad common event which ties together all the kids watching cartoons in Italy back at the time. Picture the era, late 90s, very early 2000s, no cell phones, no constant internet access. Our parents would mostly only learn of the news of the day by watching the news reports on TV after coming back from work in the evening. Throughout the whole day, we were just all oblivious to anything going on. So if you ask any person in Italy, especially people of my age, how they learned of the 9/11 attacks, they will all say it was through cartoons. Because of the different time zone, we all came home from school when in the US it was still the morning, switched on the TV, looking for our cartoons.
Arriva da New York 2 aerei si sono schiantati sui 2 grattacieli delle Twin Tower del World Trade Center in piena Manhattan nel pomeriggio. Vediamo le immagini in diretta.
Every single channel was broadcasting the same images from New York, the same images of the Twin Towers collapsing. And we all did the same thing. We told our parents, which obviously immediately rushed in. And it's weird because every single person I know in Italy has the same memory of the event. Now let's move on back to the topic of media. Let's speak about films. As a child, I mostly watched Disney films, Pixar films, in general family-friendly movies. Mulan, The Iron Giant, Home Alone, Anastasia, Toy Story, Tarzan. We had a very large collection of VHSs. I actually made a whole video about this about a year ago in which I show all my old 90s video cassettes. If you'd like to see that, I'll leave that link down below. But these films were more of a special treat, something we would watch on a holiday, on a weekend, on a rainy day, when friends were over to visit, and we only really received VHSs at Christmas or for our birthday. It was not like today when you can just switch on Netflix or just download something online. As most of you know from my channel, which is mostly cinema oriented, I am a huge film fan. Already as a child, I loved watching films, sitting down in cozy pajamas, picking which VHS to watch. Then on Saturday or Sunday, the local theatre, which was just at the end of my street, would screen a kids film, and our parents would give us the €3.50 to go and watch the film, and we would meet up to watch movies such as Harry Potter, Spy Kids. It was something I really looked forward to. So my passion for cinema already started as a child, but then it fully developed as a teenager. So let me know if you would like me to create a whole video in which I speak on how I became a film fan. Now let's talk about books. As a child, I read a lot, seriously a lot. I read mostly in English, as we used to buy the books at charity shops in England and then bring them over to Italy, and if at the end we didn't want to keep them, we would donate them to the library here, which has a section of foreign language books. As a child, I didn't read anything rather uncommon. I read the books most children read at the time, such as Secret 7, Famous 5, which were series of books about children getting into highly unlikely adventures, solving mysteries, exploring their surroundings. My favourite books in general were the Enid Blyton ones and the Harry Potter series. I would spend hours and hours sitting in the armchair reading. I would read books in the car, in the bath, at the dinner table. We were also often at the local library, where I was saying we donated the books, and at which I would also pick out a lot of books in Italian. As a child, the ones I preferred were the Geronimo Stilton ones, which were based on mice who behaved like humans. The most peculiar characteristic of these books is that the text adapted to what the character was doing. I'll show you an example. So for example, in this case here, the character is falling over, and so the writing shows how he is falling. So now this book is very old, but at the time, if you rubbed on here, there would be a smell of burnt because they're in a land of dragons, but then in this little elf land it would smell of freshly cut grass. I think this interactive way of story making managed to get many children into a good habit of reading. As I know you guys are from all different countries around the world, let me know what you used to watch and read during your childhood with a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.